Hey everybody, welcome to week one of what we are calling The Way. It is really a series that at least will be a 3-month journey together where our faith is really being renewed. Now, if you're joining us via YouTube, you are more than welcome, and we're just grateful that you are listening. But really, we believe that God changes us through preaching and teaching, through community, through practices or living out the way of Jesus, and through the power of the Holy Spirit. And one of the things that we're doing is during this time, we're teaching, we're preaching, and then on Wednesday nights, we're having crew groups, which is really community, learning in the context of community. And we're giving everybody a practice to live out that week. And then we're really believing that as we do those three things, that the Holy Spirit is going to step in with His power and change us. Now, week one for The Way, I want to preach a message called Moved to Nothing. Moved to Nothing. And really, the message comes out of Matthew 7. This is the end of the Sermon on the Mount. And really, the Sermon on the Mount is Jesus' manifesto on how to be human. He wraps up the Sermon on the Mount with this story of two builders, a wise builder and a foolish builder. Now, all of humanity fits into one of these two groups, a wise builder or a foolish builder. There's no in between. We all fit into these two categories. And so Jesus tells a story and he says, "Therefore, whoever out of humanity hears these sayings of mine and does them, I will liken him to a wise man who built his house on the rock." Another translation would be, "Whoever hears these words of mine and puts them into practice, I will liken him to a wise man. The rain will descend, the floods came, and the winds blew and beat on that house, and it did not fall, for it was founded on the rock." It was founded on Jesus. It was founded on His sayings. "But everyone who hears these sayings of mine and does not do them will be likened to a foolish man who built his house on the sand. And the rain descended, the floods came, and the winds blew and beat on the house, and it fell, and great was its fall." And so it was when Jesus had ended these sayings that the people were astonished at His teaching, for He taught them as one having authority, not as one of the scribes. So these people are moved at the end of Jesus's teaching. My question is will we be moved to put Jesus's words into practice and be wise people, or will we be moved to nothing and not follow the ways of Jesus, be apathetic to Jesus, and in turn experience a great fall? That's really my question. It's really what I want to build the hypothesis on. Now, I've got a question for you. Have you ever been in an unpredictable or uncontrollable moment, right? Like one of those moments where you could not control it, you couldn't have predicted it, life just happens. This summer, we went to the beach with our interns, and when we went to the beach, we jump in, and I'm not really much of a beach guy, not much of an ocean guy, and Lex tells me, "Hey, Grant, watch out for currents." Lex is my wife, and she says, "Watch out for rip tides and currents, and if this happens, do this." And I was like, "Oh, yeah, whatever," like, never really been in one, and so I couldn't really predict that I was going to be in one. And so we start getting in the ocean. We go further out and further out and further out. And we were like, let's go out there where the blue water gets a little bit darker. You know what I'm saying? And so we get out there, and all of a sudden I'm like, I think we should turn around. This is far enough, right? We turn around, and I start swimming harder than I've ever swam, and I'm going absolutely nowhere. I begin to panic. I begin to cry for my mama like I'm a baby. I begin to say, "God, if you'll save me, I'll do anything for you," right? Couldn't control the strength of the riptide. I couldn't predict that this thing was this real. I'd never experienced it before. Have you ever had any uncontrollable or unpredictable moments? Moments where you thought, "God, if you get me out of this, I'll do anything," right? Unpredictable, uncontrollable moments. What's interesting about this story is Jesus, he says the wise and the fool, they both experience storms. They both experience wind. Well, what are storms and what are winds? Storms and wind are unpredictable, uncontrollable moments. And so Jesus, he says as a premise, as an inference into the story, as we see the story, he basically tells us that wise and fools, all of humanity, will experience unpredictable, uncontrollable times. And much like the ocean, where the further you go out, the more equipment or experience you need or education you need, I believe the more you go into life, the more uncontrollable and unpredictable it can get. And I believe there's only one way to really live life in this uncontrollable, unpredictable world. And here's why I believe this. We'll get to what I believe, but here's why I believe this from the Bible. Is what this story tells me is the question is not, will you experience uncontrollable, unpredictable storms? No, the question is, will your faith stand after you experience the unpredictable, uncontrollable storm? Will you have a faith that can last? Will you build a faith with your daily living that can stand the most uncontrollable, unpredictable seasons of life? Because they're coming. Uncontrollable, unpredictable. Maybe you've already experienced it. If 2020 wasn't proof, there are uncontrollable and unpredictable seasons ahead. And the further you go in life, the more that will arise. So my question is, will you daily build a life that will have a faith that stands then when they come? And here's the thing. What we also see from Jesus' story is that all of humanity is building something. We were made to worship. We're all worshiping something or building something. Our daily decisions, our daily thoughts, our daily habits, our daily practices, the way we live our life on a daily basis, it is building something. It could be building money. It could be building poverty. It could be building peace. It could be building anxiety. It could be building a ton of different things. We could build based off of our favorite Instagram influencer, based off of our favorite hip hop artist. We could build based off of our parents. We could build based off of a political agenda. There's so many things we could build on. And Jesus in this story, he says the wise and the fool, they both build. What is he saying? All of humanity builds. The question is not, are you building something with your life? The question is, are you building your life on the right thing? Jesus says, oh, you're going to face uncontrollable, unpredictable storms. But if you'll build your life on my words, I can predict and you can control the reality that your faith will stand. And in a year like 2020, going into the beginning of these first few days of 2021, where it looks like it's going to get more uncontrollable and more unpredictable, all that I could ask for my life, all I could ask for your life is that as these uncontrollable, unpredictable moments come, that we could build something with our lives that would cause our faith to stand the darkest of seasons, the darkest of moments. Your life, it is building something. And how do you build a house, right? Because I know what you're saying is what you're thinking is, man, Grant's talking about living the way of Jesus and putting his words into practice. And I've read the Bible and I've heard preachers and man, I just can't seem to put his ways into practice. Can't stop talking that way. I can't stop getting angry like this. I can't stop having these feelings. I can't stop this lust. I can't stop this pride. How am I ever gonna do this? Am I just gonna be the fool? And I believe God sent me to tell you, how do you build? You build the same way you build a house, day by day. God is not saying, wake up tomorrow and practice all my ways. God is saying, get up tomorrow and build on me. Get up tomorrow and put something that I say into practice. Get up tomorrow and just build. You don't have to build it all in a day. You don't have to build it all in a moment. But over a lifetime, begin to put my words into practice. Just start. I called cussing fishermen. I called a murderer. I don't need perfect people. I need people that are available that will put my words into practice day by day. Can you just do it day by day? I really only see two options from the story. One is that we could be the type of people that are moved by the story of Jesus. Can we be honest? When we hear the gospel, when we hear the word Jesus, when we hear that we are sinners in need of grace, when we hear that God so loved the world that he sent his only begotten Son, that whoever should believe in him shall not perish but have everlasting life, if we're honest, we're all moved. We're all moved. But the question is, even as you're listening to this sermon and being moved, the question is, will we be moved to accept Jesus' way of living and begin to build our life on him tomorrow? Or will we be moved to nothing? Will we be moved and do nothing? Will we be moved and keep building on our favorite Instagram influencer, our political platform, or hip hop rapper, or our parents, or whatever it may be? Will we continue to build on those things even though we were moved and just keep living life as it is? Or will we begin to be moved and put into practice the words of Jesus so that we can have a faith that stands the storm of tomorrow? So, over the next 3 months, I want to teach you, our team wants to teach you how to put the words of Jesus into practice. But before I can teach you how to put the words of Jesus into practice, before I can help you begin to build faith, we have to start right here, right now, by asking this question. Where are you headed right now? What are you building right now? Are you in the wise or the foolish category? See, there's a principle of a path, meaning that the habits you have right now, the daily decisions you're making right now, the daily living you're doing right now, the way you live your life right now, it has put you on a path. And if you continue doing that, you will not end up at the place that you want to go if those decisions not lead you to the place you want to go. And so if you want to build the faith by putting Jesus' words into practice, but you're making daily decisions, daily habits that are contrary and opposite to the words of Jesus, and you continue to do that, the path does not lead to the goal. And so our first practice, remember, we are given practices. We want to put words into practice. Our first practice, our first activation activity is this, is that this week, look at where you are right now. Look at the words of Jesus to build your life on him and ask yourself, am I building my life on Jesus or am I building it on something else? Am I building my life on his words or am I building it on something else? And then pray this prayer. Say, Jesus, over the next 3 months, I pray that your Holy Spirit would begin to reveal to me the areas of my life that need to change so that you can do what you want to do in my life. Show me how to put your words into practice and show me where I'm not doing it right now. And then just write a little couple sentences of this is where I'm at, this is where I want to go, this is what I'm believing for Jesus to do over the next 3 months. I believe he's going to do it. And here's a quote from Andy Stanley to finish. He says, geographically speaking, you can't get where you want unless you know where you are to begin with. You need a reference point. Similarly, you can't get to where you want in life until you're willing to admit where you are to begin with. Self-deception makes that nearly impossible. What is Andy Stanley saying? You need to go home and examine where you are, where you're at. And for the hardest part for all of us is that we're going to be moved and we're going to do nothing, right? That we're going to be self-deceived into believing, I can't change, or I don't need to change, or it's too hard to change. Don't be self-deceived. Look at where you're at. Look at where it's heading. Where will it put you in 5 years? Will you look more like Jesus or will you look more like anxiety? Will you look more like Jesus or will you look more like fear? Will you look more like Jesus or will you look more like you still hate your enemy? What are you going to look like? Don't let yourself be deceived, but say, Jesus, help me. Help me to see what you see and do what you want me to do.